Show. It's 102.5 The Bone. Our phone numbers, which you have not used since Sporkle, 727-579-1025 or 800-771-1025. Before we bring our guest in, I want to remind you we are doing a not-so-live gig the night before the cruise called the Land Cruise. We'll be out at Side Splitters with comedian Tim Dillon, some other great comedians, Steve Miller. We'll have prizes to give away. We'll be doing Sporkle and a whole bunch of other things live in front of a live audience. If you'd like to join us, go to sidesplitterscomedy.com. Get your tickets now. Because I'm going to be honest, once we do a not-so-live gig in Tampa, I probably won't be back in Tampa doing one for another year or so.
Right.
That's not a threat. I'm just saying we got to move it around.
A little bit of a
keep
threat.
it going. Spanish, please go get Ben and Nikki and bring them in the studio. It's not a threat. I'm just letting you know that people are always like, well, you ever come back to Tampa? Well, we did, and that's how it goes. And if you want to be a part of it, get your tickets now. And then we leave. If you're going on the cruise, it's perfect. You go, you get hung over with us. The next day, we all just leave together. Mm-hmm. We might just drive straight to the port and sleep in our cars.
You can do that. You're allowed to.
Also, check out caltashow.com, CALTA show.com. Stop asking me for tumblers and tank tops. They're all available on there. Our lovely guests are making the way in the studio right now. Nikki is here. What is your tattoo? I never saw your tattoo before. You got a couple of them.
It says, I hate Ben.
Asher's on my back.
Is today Asher's birthday?
It is.
Oh, man.
16.
Pull that microphone right up to your mouth.
16.
Now, how does that make you feel? Like, my son has a mustache now, and that makes me nervous.
He's so cute.
Isn't he adorable?
Oh, he's so cute.
Because his mother made him on her own, I think. I think there's none of me in that child whatsoever.
I think I made Asher on my own.
He kind of looks like Ben.
He does.
Yeah.
He looks like me. He doesn't act like either one of us. You know, the universe, I always thought the universe would pay me back for being such an awful kid.
Right.
Somehow, we got
a good kid out of it?
A good kid, but genuinely, unless he's the biggest con man in the world, which is
Eddie
possible.
Haskell.
But what a good, sweet kid. I mean, you know him. I mean, it's completely unfair that Nikki and I, who cause so much problems to our kids, have such a sweet kid.
I mean, I didn't cause as many problems as you did.
Oh, okay.
I just used to sneak out of the house a little bit.
You were just a nightmare.
By the way, I don't know about Nikki's bad childhood. I mean, like it being bad, but I certainly would love to hear about it. Where did you
I was
grow
boy
up?
crazy.
Yeah.
You were?
Yeah.
It was not bad like my bad behavior, like drugs and alcohol and all that, like getting mischievous and breaking the law.
Having a daughter, I think I might want you to do drugs to find out you're... I mean, I'm not saying you were slutting it up, but I don't want her to slut it up. Like, who was the first boyfriend? Like was it high school or before high school?
High school.
Okay, and did you date one guy for a little while?
I did. I really 2 boyfriends in high schoul.
And did you think that both of those were the ones when you were dating them?
No.
You didn't?
No.
See, that's the problem I have is like, I don't want, like, you remember when you're in love with your high school boyfriend and you think he's the one or she's the one and you're a dumb high school kid. And then, like, I remember when I moved from high school to Florida, right after high school, I moved to Florida. And I dated a girl for 2 years before I left, and I was like all sad, and she was going away to college, and I was like, we were forced apart, and everybody's like, you're gonna be laughing at this in a week. And I was like, you have no idea.
Now, did you guys?
And then I realized they were right.
Did you guys stay together and try to do the long distance thing?
It was pretty much when we said goodbye, we knew it was goodbye. Yeah. She was going up to Boston to go to college, and I was moving to Florida. There was no way in the world.
See, I had a girlfriend in high school. My senior year.
This wasn't the stripper.
No, it wasn't the stripper.
Finally.
the knife out of the back. But we decided, she was just going to UCLA. I went to Berkeley. We decided to try a long distance
Well, that's
one.
not so long distance.
It's not so long distance, but as you know, once you get to college.
Right, yeah. Once you're in college, it's a long distance.
That's when girls become whores.
I think
She was in Los
I think I
Angeles.
lasted 2 days.
Yeah. Oh, you were going to be faithful?
I was going to try. I had no idea what college had to offer.
Let me break this to all the girls getting ready to call it college right now. If you and your boyfriend are going to try and stay faithful, you may stay together and may even on Thanksgiving break come home and spend time together.
Right.
But he has already banged every girl he can while he's in
and probably
school.
so is she.
Yeah, which is probably true now,
Right.
but I'm just saying he is usually the scummier of the two.
No question.
Well, and especially if she hadn't, she's going to go to college and do that.
Right.
Well, and she's probably banging girls because she's like, this doesn't count.
Right.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to experiment,
Right,
but this
that's
gives
how
me
it
an
happens
excuse.
in college.
Now, I have a question for you, Nikki, because of your son. Your son has a lot of things at his disposal, yet he does not seem like a spoiled kid to me whatsoever. He may, like, my kids are spoiled, like they have stuff, and my daughter expects stuff, but your son does not seem that way at all. He's extremely polite. He is a wonderful kid. Your father has all girls.
He does.
What is it about your father that all the girls seem to still love that man? Like I bet you in high school you went to that period where you probably disagreed with him.
When I was 16, he and I butted heads.
You guys
We're
still
so
butt
much
heads.
alike.
Right.
He and I have like very similar fiery personalities.
Who's his favorite?
Me.
Yeah, that's why.
Was that quick enough for you?
Sorry, Lisa.
I would say, would Lisa say the same thing?
No.
No, she'd probably say me.
Yeah.
But in different ways. I think we're all. It's just different. We all have different. We're favorites in different ways.
I should probably explain to the audience who I haven't said. This is Nikki DiBartolo. Her father is very close to being a saint. He owned the San Francisco 49ers in their heyday, and by all accounts, you get a guy who's rich, there's a couple of people that'll stop by and tell you, oh, that guy's a jerk off just because of that. You don't get that with your father at all. Everybody seems to love your father. And it's true. I mean, like you meet I know a lot of rich guys, and there's always this group of people like, oh yeah, but he did this and he did that. Everybody says he's generous, he's nice, and obviously you could look around and see all the things he does for the community. But if you think he's bitter because he never had a son? Not that he doesn't love you guys, but do you think I'm a football guy? For the love of God, this would have been great for his son.
No, I'm probably the closest thing he's ever had to a boy.
Right.
True.
And that's why you're his favorite?
Yeah.
Now, what about your...
And then Asher's the first boy.
Right. He's got it by the balls, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it's really kind of sad, but the DiBartolo name is done, technically.
Oh, yeah, because Asher has...
because he had 3 daughters.
Right.
Mr. D has a sister who got married and has a York as her last name.
Okay.
So there's no male to carry on the DiBartolo name as far as that side of the family.
I'd be willing to be adopted. If you want, I'll change my name like that.
That's why we gave Asher the middle name.
Yeah, I got you.
I got to tell you, the Mike DiBartolo show sounds great.
It's great.
Fits
Just have to
for
change a few
Italian.
things in here.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so when do you guys meet? You and Ben?
I was 22.
Yeah, 1997.
Where? California?
In a nightclub.
At my nightclub, yeah. In San Francisco.
you're a nightclub.
Well, I was
you're
the
there.
operations manager.
Okay, all right. And you know who she is, or you just attracted to her looks?
So here's the way the nightclub. It was a 30,000 square foot nightclub, 3 rooms. Saturday night we did this pop station did their promo there every Saturday with the morning show. We talked about this on Saturday, and so 3,000 people would come to that club every Saturday night.
Sure.
And so we had a white zone in front to keep the cars away, and so we get the line moving. All of a sudden, this car just comes zooming up, right, and parks right in front. And I go over to tell them to, keep it moving.
In a zoot suit and a hat, mind you.
Yeah.
The mask?
No,
Yes.
just like the mask.
Yeah.
Except for
MC Scat Cat.
100%.
if I'm being honest, the collar was outside the jacket.
Ben was a real douchebag.
Fedora.
Years ago.
Total douchebag.
Yeah.
And so I go up there. The windows are tinted, and my primary objective is to get them moving as soon as possible. All of a sudden, the windows go down, and it is 2 beautiful women.
Right.
in the
Tolan
car.
will be so happy you
Tolan
said that.
and Nikki, and Tolan, her best friend, actually ended up was working for the nightclub at the time. And so I go over there and I said, they roll down the windows, and all of a sudden it instantly shifts from having them
moving.
right to keep them moving to, you guys want to park in the garage? Right. So there's a garage that I let them in, and then she gave me her card, and my uncle was friends with, or my cousin was friends with your dad, and so we just got to start talking, and it was a little overwhelming.
In the club?
In the club.
He
gave me drink tickets. I think he was trying to get me drunk, even though he was sober at the time.
Oh yeah, I was definitely getting her drunk. And then after in California, you have to stop serving alcohol at 2. We were open till 4, so there's 2 hours there. But we had had a little trick of filling water bottles with vodka and so giving it to our
VIPs.
Right. We know all
Yeah,
about that.
right.
Okay, so are you smitten with him at the start, or are you like you just enjoy the? Because I bet a lot of guys pay attention to you,
I think I was smitten from the start.
even with his suit.
Even with that weird suit. I think
Who's
that
the guy in the suit?
Hey, man, it was the 90s.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, shoulder pads.
But the hat was a little bit over the top, like
It was a little
fedora.
bit. I was expecting to see a cane around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, like-
plus you got a peanut head,
Yeah,
so
look.
it's probably like huge on you.
When I walked over there, I had a little pimp walk.
Right,
you know.
right. What's up, lady?
What's up, girl?
No, you were sober at this time
I was 1997, 4 or 5 years sober.
and had no friends because nobody said to you, "Don't wear that suit."
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I
Okay.
feel like the whole club looked like that.
They did. That was
Yeah,
sort
that was
of
the time.
It was the stick, yeah.
All right. So how does it go from there? How do we go from there to getting married?
So this is actually a really funny story. So
Yeah.
we meet. I get her number. We call. We've been sort of talking back and forth.
He waited like 3 days to call
Right.
me. That whole 3-day weird
right.
thing.
Yeah, that was
and
so
there's no
lame.
texting at the time.
Right, no texting at the time. So I eventually call her, and it's actually on a Saturday in the preseason before the 97 season. And I say, "Are you going to the game?" Which obviously was a really dumb question.
Right.
And she goes,
"Why don't you just say, 'Can I go to the game?'"
No, because
Yeah.
I was already going to the game.
Okay.
And then she said, obviously she said yes, she's going to the game. She said, "Why don't you come up during halftime?" So I came into the owner's box at halftime. Mind you, I am born and raised in San Francisco.
Right, this
I
is
had
the
been,
big deal.
I had been to.
When I went in the garage, I see this car sitting there, and there's a license plate that says Hart Dem Niners,
Oh wow.
which happens to be his.
Yeah.
So in California, you could have the actual heart.
Heart,
and it's
yeah.
DEM 9RZ. But so we go to the game. Halftime happens. I go up to the box, and first person I meet is her sister Tiffany. She doesn't even get up to say hi to me. The second person I meet is her friend Nishara, who says, when Nikki introduces us, she says, "Oh, I know him already."
Oh.
Because I'd been dating one of her
Right.
friends. So it was just a
Word
mess.
is out now.
Total mess from the beginning. Her dad comes out, and now I have to meet Eddie DeBartolo.
Right.
Which is a whole, thing. And then the second half starts, and she goes, "Do you want to go down to the field?"
How is meeting Eddie?
The first time was very quick.
Yeah.
The first time I go over to dinner,
I'd imagine he's preoccupied on a Sunday.
right, and the preseason, but the first time was just a really quick, because nobody expected, with Nikki.
No one expected him to be around long enough.
Right.
Because Nikki brought plenty of guys.
Blowing
No one
through guys.
ever expected me to be.
Through guys, not blowing guys.
So we go down to the field, and we're walking down the tunnel of where the players come out onto the field, and if you can imagine being on a first date with somebody you're attracted to is one thing where you sort of get the jitters and you're trying to act like the cool
Right.
guy. And then there's another thing about going on a football field, an NFL football field for your favorite team, and getting those jitters. So I'm trying to keep it like cool
Yeah.
on the outside.
This is what Pete and I refer to as when we're when we do stuff at that
Yeah.
level, we look at each other and we're like, "Are we dead? Maybe this is it. Maybe we died, and this is what it's like." Because if you could design, if you're like, I want to be on a 49ers game with a hot chick,
Right.
whose dad owns a team, and I want to go on the field. Like it's like everything you want.
Right, but it was overwhelming because I'm like trying to pretend like this
You
is
wanna
no
be cool
big
guy,
deal.
yeah.
Like, so we go out in the field, and I step on the field, and when you have that many people in a stadium, obviously it just there's a different energy from the field and the stands because all the energy's down the field.
Right.
And so again, we're walking around the field. I'm trying to be like, "Hey, this is no big deal. I do this all the time." And,
Yeah.
and meanwhile,
He trips and falls. No, I'm kidding.
He loves them Niners. Now he's
Yeah.
on the field with them. Yeah.
love them Niners.
Yeah.
So it was that was our first sort of date outside the nightclub, and then we went out to dinner one night, and she was very aggressive.
Yeah.
She leaned
Aggressive.
Physically, like
in.
she kissed you first.
She kissed me first.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think he's making that
No,
up.
I am not. No,
Guys
I'm not.
remember these sort of things.
I think
I
you're making
absolutely
that up.
remember. I was like, "Hey, that's kind of cool."
Yeah. And
Took the pressure right off me. I didn't have to go in for the first kiss.
right.
She did.
Yeah, perfect.
Ouch.
It's not bad. It's not a bad thing. Yeah. I mean, Jesus, you went on to marry the guy. You could have. You
I
probably
did.
liked him a little.
I did.
But
Yeah.
the second time I met her dad, we went to his house for dinner, and that was a whole another thing. That was just I had that. Here I am with an idol of mine who had brought me, probably more joy from the product of the 49ers.
Than he was aware of.
Right, than he was aware of. But also now that I'm sort of involved with his daughter, that's bringing me a lot of joy. Like there's two different deals. And so we go over there. He's upstairs. We're there for probably 45 minutes before your dad comes down for dinner. And he says some comment that I won't repeat on the radio.
God only knows.
But it was a funny comment that sort of just broke the ice, and I was like, "This guy's not okay. We're going to be okay."
Yeah, you were calming.
Yeah, but it was a dig. It was a sort of if you know Mr.
dig
D.
To you or me?
It was to me.
Oh, I'm surprised it wasn't to me.
No, it was to me. But it was the kind of thing where I would probably say that to somebody else. I was like, this guy's a normal guy. Like he's not some.
It sets the tone for what.
And like you were saying before, he's so relatable. Yeah. Even though he's not relatable as far as the money and the wealth he has, but I think that's his. If anything, one of his greatest characteristics is he makes everybody feel like they're special. Right. And he remembers everybody.
See, you said that to me. I saw him at Sacred Pepper one time.
Yeah.
And I never bother him. I never want to go talk to him. He's hanging out. And he stopped me on the way back, and he was like, "Hey," I go, "Hey, Mr. D, how are you?" And he introduced me to somebody and said, "This guy has the greatest radio show." And I said, "He's probably lying, but I'll take it."
No, you said to me, he probably somebody told him that, and I said no.
Yep, you said he would remember.
I mean, if you ask any of the players who used to play for him, he used to remember all their names,
their birthdays,
obviously their names,
everything. It's
but not only that, but their kids, their wives or girlfriends. Everybody.
Well, that's why there's a lot of success, because that's obviously a good company to work for in that sense of it.
And that's something that's intangible. People don't realize is like you can go out and be the team that spends all the money and gets all the free agents, but they keep on losing. Washington Redskins. Yeah. But there has to be there's something.
There's a reason those people want to work for you, where they go the extra mile. In any job, it's like that.
And although Mr. D isn't football. Athletic or height to be able to play. I think all of his players knew that he would strap on the pads and go out to war with them. Yeah. I mean, he would famously do some things in the locker room after the losses that you don't see owners do. You see owners shake hands with the players as they come in, win or lose. Not Mr. D.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he liked to throw things.
I said to George Steinbrenner one time, we were at Yankee Stadium, and I was sitting in the front row by where Rudy Giuliani used to sit in the dugout, and I looked at him and I said, I was a poor kid. I'd never sat anywhere. I said, but I got to tell you, I don't want to embarrass you, but if the bench is clear against the Red Sox,
I'm going in.
I'm going.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he goes, you damn well better go. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah.
All right, so how long did you date before you got married?
3 years.
Yeah. 3 years. And 3 years with a year in there where they had decided to move to Tampa.
Right.
And
how old were you at the time?
Young. 25.
Yeah.
Okay. So if the family moves, you're going.
Yeah.
And then she asked me, and it's one of those things in life where I think at least our generation now, millennials are if they've gotten a lot of things wrong.
Don't make us sound so old.
Mm-hmm. But the one thing the millennials are doing well are waiting longer.
Oh yeah.
Right, so
we learn from everybody else's mistakes.
Right, so at the time, like I think I was 27, 28. We'd been dating a few years. She had asked me to move to Tampa with them, and to me, it was like society was telling me at that time that
it's time to get married.
Yeah,
right.
Instead of I want to marry this girl. It was more pressure from society or whatever. I don't know. Pressure from society. We're moving. It was just like the natural progression of.
Well, I think, too, you were like, I'm going to move from my family clear across the country and just dating this girl.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does Ben propose to you?
Warning number one.
Yeah.
Yes, warning number one. We are on a trip in Hawaii on a boat.
Did you feel it coming?
I think I sort of maybe knew.
Right.
But I don't like boats. I mean, I've learned to like boats because I just throw on the patch now.
Right.
I go downstairs to go to the bathroom on the boat.
Mistake number one.
Come back green.
Yeah.
Then he asked me to marry him. I'm green still. I'm like, oh, God.
Read the room, Bob.
Yeah, I know. Look, but I had this ring. It wasn't even in a box. It was burning a hole in my pocket, and I had, we
He's
rented
like, she's going to throw up on me, but I got to do this now.
We had rented this sailboat, and we went out, and she goes downstairs, and like I said, gets sick. So we have to go back in the harbor and sort of like, what do you call it? Go slow around the harbor and just where it was flat until she felt better, and then I asked her.
Yeah, and were you overjoyed?
I was overjoyed.
Yeah. You were like, this is it. That's my guy for the rest of my life.
That's it. I always wanted to be Cinderella.
Yeah, except you got Ben. Yeah. Little prince over there.
The frog.
The guy in the zoot suit and a hat. By the way, as you're telling these stories, I'm picturing you in the suit on the field of the 49ers game.
Oh,
you
yeah.
proposing in
The
the
entire
suit.
time.
I
Yeah.
honestly am going to look for a photo
Please
of him
do.
in one of these suits.
I would
I
love
guarantee I have one.
There are some things that,
gonna
technology
find one.
has improved our life. I'm glad I didn't grow up in an era with cell phones.
Yeah. Do you
know, though-
Everything. I mean, there are pictures,
Right.
but they're very few, and you got to go find them.
Do you know how many photo albums I have?
No, that's true.
Like
There's-
actual photo albums.
I think I saw one. And the other thing we should say is that I had a bleach blonde hair.
Yeah.
We were all went through that in the night.
Yeah,
it
but
was
with
bad.
my dark skin, working
was
in the
bad.
nightclub, getting
It was
home at
bad.
5 o'clock in the morning,
He had, like-
and going to work.
Oh, yeah.
What are you, a Bond villain?
But you can imagine with dark skin, these circles.
Spiked. It was spiked.
And these dark
2
circles
inches.
under my eyes. I mean, I look like the death.
I gotta
You
tell
look
you,
like an Eastern Bloc drug dealer. Yeah.
I worked in the nightclub business in the 90s for a long time. Never wore a zoot suit. Never wore. No.
I'm going to find a picture of Ben for you guys.
What are we defining as zoot suit? Like striped?
Pinstripe
It was-
yellow
but it was
with
like-
black
No.
stripes.
Long jacket with the buttons.
No. It was a black,
It was black and white, but the stripes were
a
slightly
little
larger.
Right.
And he
That-
had the fedora on, and he sort of like swaggered. You had a little swagger. I'm telling you, the cane was somewhere
Spinning
around.
a watch on a chain.
I like to call it pimp walk,
Yeah.
gotta keep-
swagger makes you sound cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So you guys get engaged. How long? Yeah. How long do you plan? Do you have a huge wedding?
We do have a huge
Is
wedding.
your father happy?
He was happy.
Is the first of his daughters to get married?
My
No.
sister, my middle sister got married, like 3 or 4 months before us?
Right.
But I will tell you, on my way down the aisle, my dad looked at me and said, we can run at any time.
You gave her the out, man. You gave her the
So
out.
there was a bunch of different. Like I said, the first red light was the getting sick. If I'm truly honest with myself, and when I'm getting ready, I'm looking myself in the mirror and literally having a conversation with myself, saying, "This isn't right."
Oh, really?
Yeah, like and I chalked it up to butterflies or fears about the future and tried to stay in the present. But I literally remember, like it was yesterday, thinking this shouldn't work, but or this isn't going to work. But the day before, we had our wedding rehearsal, and this is a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. At Grace Cathedral, which is a San Francisco beautiful, famous cathedral. And so we're doing the walkthrough, and the priest says, "I need to see your wedding certificate." And Nikki looks at me. I look at her. We look at the wedding planner. We didn't have a wedding certificate.
You guys don't have 9 assistants to go remind you to do this stuff?
Well, the third look was to the wedding planner.
Like, what?
Why didn't you tell us this?
Are you like we thought he was speaking Latin, like wedding certificate, and so City Hall's closed.
Oh.
And so we have to. We say, okay, can we just go through the ceremony and then we'll get the wedding certificate? He goes, no, I can't let you in this church to get married unless you have the wedding certificate.
Like, you are not going to get married. All 900 people that are here for your wedding.
So
holy cow!
All I could say is thank God that Eddie DeBartolo had won 5 Super Bowls in San Francisco,
right?
because he was able to call
the mayor
Willie Brown.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So that again, warning sign.
Yeah.
It's another warning sign.
And then after the wedding, at our
I was sick
rehearsal.
again.
Did you go on a sailboat?
No.
Were you
I had
pregnant?
to. No. I had to go down. Like, I don't. It was
She
like
disappeared for 2 hours
literally 2 hours during our ceremony
because she was so
after-
sick.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I had to go get another dress, take my dress off. Oh yeah, it was bad.
From what? Do we know?
She just married me, Mike.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you got
I mean, like every doctor that was in the building was like, "Here, you need to take." I think I took something for what did I take?
Somebody had to go get your dress, go to the pharmacy, get
Something
some
for like an
Zofran.
upset. Yes, it was something like
Zofran,
Zofran.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Holy cow. So
I mean, I ended
doomed.
up having fun the rest of the night, but
Right. Doomed from the start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing, too.
All
the
right,
wedding.
so how long were you married?
Almost 6 years.
7 years.
7. We had Asher in
Almost 7
2003,
years.
got married in 2001. Asher was 3 or 4 when we got divorced.
Okay, now how bad were things before? Like, how many years in the marriage where you're like, we're getting divorced?
You know, I think that it was. You talk about. I think everybody goes through it when they meet somebody in the beginning, right? And there's.
It wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't bad.
Right.
But you know, you go from infatuation and the passions there, and sometimes that gets. At least I did, and Nikki did, and I've done it in the past. Is you get that confused with love.
Yeah.
In love,
Sure.
right? I loved Nikki. I always loved
He
Nikki.
still does.
I still do.
He says that.
I do. And I still love him.
Yeah. So, but there's a difference between in love and loving somebody.
Right.
Oh, I know.
And right. And so we were, you know, the passion had sort of gone out of the marriage. There wasn't a lot of connection. We didn't.
We were like two friends living in house.
roommates.
Right, which happens to a lot of married couples over time. But
This
if
happens
this
a lot
happened this is early,
Way
something's
quick.
wrong.
Way
Yeah.
quick. And there was some times where I'd move out, even before we had Asher. So it was a rocky road.
A lot of fighting or a lot of just, I'm unhappy?
I'm unhappy.
Yeah.
I think, and in the book, I talk about specifically why I was unhappy that manifests itself. Because in my own personal life, I wasn't happy. I'd moved to Tampa, which at the time was basically 180 degrees in the opposite direction of San Francisco.
Listen, this was not. I moved here in '89, and it was like might as well moved here in 1954.
Right.
It's come light years from them, but
Light years.
even
Even
at that
in the last
time.
5 years.
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
light
saying.
years. I mean, crazy.
And Ben is sober and has been for years, but he's been dealing with addiction for years. It's one of the things that before you and I were friends, I told you I heard you talking about it on the radio.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people talk about how hard addiction is, but Ben said something on the air. He said that he was watching a documentary on cancer, and they were giving people drugs to deal with the pains of cancer, and Ben was such an addict that he wished he had cancer for a second so he could take the drugs.
Yeah.
That was the first time it was ever explained to me how bad addiction is.
Yeah.
And so to know you and know what kind of person
That's
you are.
the pain medication.
The pain medication. Yeah. To know you and know what kind of person you are now, and having had to go through what you went through, you got enough of your own problems.
Right.
You already got stuff that you have to deal with for the rest of your life on top of being in a relationship.
And the problem was that I wasn't. And addiction is a treatable disease. It's not a curable disease.
Right.
So there's certain things that I am supposed to do every day for my treatment of my addiction. And if I don't do them, I can become just as bad, if not worse, as a drinking alcoholic.
Right.
So there's sober and then there's abstinence, right?
Yeah.
And so when I moved here, I stopped going to meetings. I stopped doing what I was supposed to do. And I just wasn't a happy person
No.
because I wasn't taking care of myself spiritually.
Right.
And so that manifests itself in every aspect of my life. And like I said, I can cause just as much damage being a non-drinking alcoholic, not taking care of myself, as I can as an active alcoholic or drug addict.
Wow.
And that's what happened in the marriage.
Yeah. And you decided at the same time that it's over, the both of you?
No. So I think I think what happened was
Pretty much.
I mean, I had moved out.
You both felt that way.
Yes,
Who's
we
the one that says, I'm done?
It was me.
Ben.
I had moved out.
And you were probably relieved. Seriously. I mean, like if you're feeling kind of the same way, you're like, good.
But the other side of me is like the fixer. So like my first reaction was, what can I do to fix this?
Right.
When in the back of my head, I was like, do I really want to fix this?
Yeah. You have to figure that out.
But it was more so trying to decide, do I want to fix this for this little boy?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Now we have a child in the situation.
Right.
That's and so what I was talking about, you guys being on the show, and I wanted people who had kids and think that they're in a horrible marriage, but they think that they have to stay together till that kid's 18 for some reason, and
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. Used to say that he has daughters, And he said it was Andrew Dice Clay who told him that you can get a divorce if you're in a miserable marriage and have a great life again and still be a good father.
Yeah,
and I think people are worried about that.
And I think everybody who has a parent or is a parent was a child at one point. And you know, we don't give our kids credit. At least we didn't give our kid credit enough for being aware of what's going on. And I think for me, I'd much rather as a parent be happy apart from Nikki than together and miserable.
Sure.
Because that's not going to help him either. And so, you know, the thing about the story, Our Happy Divorce and where we are today, it wasn't like we snapped our fingers and got there. You know, it was a work in progress. Us deciding to get divorced wasn't a spontaneous decision.
Right.
You know, I had moved out before, like I said, then come back. The last time I moved out, Nikki kept on telling me that she wanted to work on the marriage. She wanted me to come back because she's a fixer.
Right.
But there was a point where she was in L.A. She had started a jewelry company, and she said, "I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna work on our marriage. I'm gonna dedicate myself to the marriage." And I was.
This is the part where he makes me sound so horrible.
Right, well. Yeah, right. Because you are. But that's where I was in my life. Like, I was pointing the finger at Nikki. It was all her fault. And that's what I mean by untreated alcoholism.
When living with him was a dream.
Yeah.
Right, because I could see no part of my part in the marriage. It was all her fault.
Sure.
And so I'm at the house. She's in L.A. I'm getting some stuff to go back to the Renaissance Hotel, which was my home for 3 months, which is very interesting. Where your biggest...
Here?
Yeah, the
Where is it?
The one by
International
the mall?
Mall. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like a major excitement is when I watched so much of the pay-per-view movies that when they released a new movie, it was like the biggest
Tuesday movie day.
Tuesday movie day. And so, but I go and I see Nikki's really famous for calendaring. Like her calendars are pieces of arts of the work. But I look on the fridge and the calendar says that she's going to be in L.A. for the next whatever, and it just didn't match up with her word, right, her actions, and that's when it just hit me. But I was, I
think I was running away.
Yeah, I was engulfed with rage at the time, so I did some dramatic.
Left the ring by the sink.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, right. I mean, so I wanted to send a real good message to her when she got home from
dramatic.
LA.
It was something I would have done.
Yeah, so that's when. So I was the one who actually made the decision on my part, but I think, you know, Nikki, if you look back on it, it was the right. Obviously, it was the right thing, but it was a decision that you probably would have made too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you.
Are you asking me if I still would want to be married to you now?
That's clear.
I'm sure you're probably.
Praise be to Nadia.
Your husband's so good looking. It'd be a
Praise be to
downgrade.
I'm sure
cute.
you probably talked about this with each other, but did you cheat on each other?
You know what, Mike? There's one thing that this book.
That's a yes.
No, I have to be honest with you. If you're looking for,
You're the first person that asked that question,
right? But if you're looking for a villain in this book,
no.
But I'm just saying, like
I love Ben's face when he says that. Are you looking for a villain?
This book isn't for you. Like we don't talk about what went on in our marriage or whose fault it was for 2 reasons. One, that is used for ammunition for people to justify their behavior. Right. Like, oh, it's all her fault. She did that, or it's all his fault because he cheated or she cheated. Like, we both had our part in it.
Yeah.
And the second reason we don't go into it is the reason that we have the happy divorce is because our guiding light or guiding principle was we made decisions what's best for Asher. So if under that premise, spilling the details of our marriage and blaming somebody. And Asher reading the book isn't what's best for Asher.
Yeah, because then he could read it and he could say, well, clearly this is the problem, or that was
right. And we don't want him to look at any
both were the problem.
When we both were the problem. Was it perfect? Yeah. Did it have all the other stuff? Yeah, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I know, and I think that's where couples who are getting divorced don't understand that no matter what has happened in the marriage, that doesn't mean either one of you love your children less.
Oh, no,
and
yeah.
People just...
And kids may not understand that when they're young. Like if your kids were to hear about this or any marriage, that there was some sort of infidelity, even in the end stages of the game.
They don't need to know that.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't need to know
that. The book is called Our Happy Divorce. These two, it's ridiculous because Ben will get a text from what he calls the ex-wife, but then he'll at the same time say best friend, that you're his best friend. Yeah, but also he will definitely let us know that you're nuts a little bit at the same time.
I definitely am, 100%. I feel bad for my husband, actually.
I wish more women would realize they're nuts. Now, let's jump ahead a little bit. You guys, how bad was the divorce? Now, you got a lot of things going into it. You got money to deal with. You got kids to deal with. Was it planned beforehand? Were there prenups that made it easy, or did that actually hurt things?
I think it started out how any divorce would start. It started out ugly.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I mean, when you
more
talk
so on his side.
all on my side, and that's where this untreated alcoholism comes in, which I was so full of resentment. I was so angry that I wanted to embarrass Nikki. I did sign a prenup.
Right.
I wanted to get out of the prenup. I hired this big lawyer to do this whole thing, and he wrote me it was a game plan, 25 pages long, on how he was going to get out, how we're going to get out the prenup. And when he handed it to me, he said, "There's a hole big enough to drive an 18-wheeler through this prenup."
Through the prenup. Yeah.
So it wasn't this thing where all of a sudden we click our, snap our fingers.
One would think that we would have written a pretty good prenup, but I don't know.
Right. But the money thing, people can probably thinking like it's easy because they had money or they had a prenup or whatever.
I think it would complicate things.
But it doesn't. I think the thing is, it doesn't matter if you guys are fighting over $100 or $100 million. Yeah. Rich people, middle class people with not a lot of still have the same feelings. It's still the same emotions.
Right.
So it's all relative.
It's all relative. So I was literally out for blood.
Okay, so and now you're mad because he's mad and he's being a dick. So you're like,
and he came from a divorced parents, and my parents are still married almost 51 years later.
Yeah.
So I came from a whole different.
By the way, I don't know your parents very well, but I know them enough to know that your dad has nailed it to a T and why he's so happy in his marriage.
No question.
Because he just goes, yeah, whatever you want to do. He goes to your mom. Yeah, open a restaurant. I don't care. Yeah, what?
That's it.
Yeah, go ahead, whatever you want to do. He has no stress in his life.
He wasn't always like that.
Right, but I could just see him going, yeah, whatever you want to do. Yeah. Which is what most guys should probably be doing.
Yes, honey.
Now, are you worried that you're going to lose this relationship with her father as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that did fall into the whole equation, but wasn't the reason that I sort of had this
epiphany.
I was going to say epiphany, moment of clarity when I started reading that War and Peace that lawyer had written, where I got 2 pages into it, and all of a sudden it became clear to me for the first time in a long time that if I go down this route,
he's going to be a total douche.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not only a total douche, but I might as well. Feed Asher poison and hope that Nikki dies.
Right.
That's your line.
That's good, though, because that's the truth.
It's truth. And I also saw, because of my own experience, like Nikki said, of my parents' divorce, that it was not a good divorce.
Right.
And the only people that ended up getting hurt were my brother and sisters. Like, my parents literally, unintentionally, I think, racked up a huge emotional bill.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, they gave it to us to pay.
Which is never good.
Never good. No. So I had that moment, and her dad fell completely into that equation because he had looked at after me like a son. I think he loved me as a son.
Right.
But not only that, he told when it was a little rocky in the beginning. I think my mom and him talked maybe at Asher's birthday or in person.
No, she called.
She called. My mom called Mr. D, and Mr. D said to my mom that no matter what happens, I will take care of Ben, because my mom was worried that I was.
I think that was a recorded conversation, but yeah.
Right.
Oh, really?
It was rough.
Look, I had to get a burner phone.
Yeah.
Because I know, I just had to.
I also had that burner phone.
Is there a point in your mind that you think he's going to have you killed?
No,
because that's what I would do.
Look, if
you have the number there,
I think I might.
Oh my God! So if Nikki is a fixer,
he's worse.
Her dad is a fixer on steroids,
right?
And so he immediately would call me or have his friends call me. He would take me to Vegas, and this is when things aren't good, and he's trying to figure out how he can fix this.
Right?
Like, what can he do?
Not fix the marriage, but fix the
marriage.
Oh, fix the marriage.
Yes. Yeah.
He doesn't like anybody being in any sort of turmoil.
Yeah. Especially his own daughters, right?
Right.
And so I kept on having to say no. But no, I wasn't worried about ending up like Jimmy Hoffa. I mean, maybe a little bit.
I just put myself in his shoes for a second. And I was like, I'll take you to Vegas. We're going to go out to the desert and show you this new house that I'm building. And I'm going to put you right in the foundation.
Now, when he did ask me to Vegas, if I'm being honest.
He did think that maybe he was going to kill me.
And
shovel's a good weapon.
The off the strip, there's a lot of open ground. Mm-hmm. And it did cross my mind at one point.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, you got to take that into consideration. This is your daughter you're talking about now. It doesn't matter who he is. He's dealing with his daughter.
So that trip in Vegas, my head was on a swivel.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you work the divorce out. You get this out. And now, how soon before you guys are like, we're going to remain friends, or was that the plan from the start?
No, it didn't start out that way. But I think, it was probably about 6 months into it that we kind of said.
So I read this thing. Yeah.
You called me and said, let's go have coffee.
But first, in the background, when I read that first couple pages and put it down because I got sick, I have to find something else. And it was that moment. I call it a moment of clarity because I realized why I was so unhappy, and I had enough foundation, I guess, in my life of sobriety and what I needed to do that I just wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, right? And so I called Nikki first. I said, "Look, I can't talk about this divorce. I need to do some things and some work on myself." And so I took some time off. I started going back to meetings. I started working with a sponsor again, and we went through this inventory. And this inventory was more trying to find my part in the situation, because any relationship where I have a resentment or something, I have a part in it, right? And I have to get to the root of that part. And so after I get done telling him all this stuff, and I'm reading him this inventory, I get to the end of it, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I wouldn't want to be married to myself either.
Yeah.
I was miserable.
Yeah.
And so then I called her and I asked her to coffee, and part of the process, too, was to make amends. After I got done with the inventory, I had to forgive myself.
Right.
And there's a lot of shame when you're in a marriage, that I'm going to be this, single guy with this kid and the divorce sort of name on my name tag, for new women in my life.
That quickly went away.
Oh, yeah.
But I asked her to coffee, and I sat her down, and I apologized to her, and I told her I loved her, and she apologized to me, which I think is the only time we had apologized. I
don't like to apologize.
Yeah, I don't either. And that was
I bet you're a piece of work sometimes.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, my poor husband.
What about your poor ex-husband?
We'll get to him in a second.
Oh.
Right. So at that point, once we had apologized, it's amazing. Now, it didn't.
I really didn't apologize back then. I apologize much more now than I did.
I mean, we joke. I think it's the only time that we can remember that we actually looked each other in the eyes and said we're sorry.
And meant it.
Right, and meant it. And then I followed that one up with, do you have any problem with joint custody, joint 50-50?
It was like all
everything?
in one. It was like one sentence.
Yeah, and she said no. I go, look, Nick, the rest we can work out. The rest.
Well, that's when you clearly realized that your kid was the most important thing, and that's when you took.
He was meant to be here. That's why. Whatever anybody ever asks us, well, do you regret getting married? No, I don't regret getting married.
Yeah, you learn a lot of things about yourself, and also you have the wonderful child.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So now you guys are off to a good start. And now we're going to jump ahead a little bit to where I come into the picture.
Still wasn't butterflies and roses there.
No,
right.
But this is where I want to tell you where I come into the picture.
Yeah.
So I don't know any of this at all. I can't even I know all of you a little bit. I can't put the pieces together, nor am I really trying until I get a Christmas card. And in that Christmas card is Ben and his lovely wife and their 2 kids, you and your lovely husband and your mutual son, Asher. And I'm like, sweet Jesus, they're all in the same Christmas card. What is going on here? And I don't remember. I might have been JoJo or somebody. I had to have somebody explain to me what was going on. I don't have an ex. I only really had a couple of serious girlfriends before I got married, but I don't have an ex that wants to talk to me, and none of our stuff ever really ended bad. Right. They'll just hate me after a while for some reason. You guys live on the same block. Your kid lives in both houses. You do all of your stuff together. I'm not even worried about you two. I'm worried how your husband and your wife would deal with this situation. Although your husband doesn't seem like anything bothers him. He seems like the most mellow guy ever.
Well, there's times.
Yeah. And your wife is fantastic.
She's great.
How you're able to get one wife, let alone 2, and is amazing to me.
And how
She's a saint.
How I outkicked my coverage on both
Twice, yeah. And now he's married to a saint.
She's a saint.
It's the truth. And he got a beautiful wife, beautiful kids. He finally has the happy family and life that he needs. You seem extreme. I've never seen two people that are married kiss and love each other and take pictures together more. I know, but for the love, my wife, we're in the car. My wife is like, we're going out dinner, and she's like, "Hey, Dan." I go, "Stop." I don't. But your husband, I guess if I look like a supermodel too, if you want to take those pictures.
He's cute.
Okay, so how do you convince your significant others that this lunacy is all going to work together? And was it difficult?
Well, for me, he knew Ben already. So when he knew Asher, because he was one of the first people I ever met when I moved to Tampa. So I basically just said to him, "Listen, I want to be with you, but
yeah,
this
creep's always going to be around.
This creep, I just can't seem to get rid of him.
Right.
But this is what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
I would love for you to, I don't like to use the word buy into it.
Right. Be a part of it.
But be a part of it, yeah.
But that's what I need. This is a priority for me.
And that's the thing with Nadia, too, is that she knew because I told her, we were dedicated to this thing, and this thing is what was best for Asher, and not have him suffer for our decisions in something he had no choice in.
Right.
So that included when we brought somebody else into, because that is another.
And the girls before Nadia probably wouldn't have brought into this.
Right. And there were just two of them.
Plus, they're still at Hooters, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, not Hooters. What is it, 1050 or whatever on West Shore? But we had a bike, 2 wheels, right, and it was pretty easy. But then when you add 2 more people, it's a car, right? And any one of those people who aren't accepting the situation, the car's not going to move.
Right.
So Nadia knew from the beginning that this is my life. I'm best friends with my ex-wife, but also our son is first. And if she wasn't behind it and she didn't accept the way it was, I mean, that was a deal breaker for me. And I think for the most part it would have been for Chad or Nikki too. But the turning point for me with Chad, and I'm sure Nikki has her own turning point with Nadia, but when he was going to ask Nikki to marry, when he was going to ask Nikki to marry him, he called me to coffee. Ironically,
coffee shop, same table.
Same coffee shop, same table. And he asked me permission to marry Nikki.
That's great on a lot of levels. One, because he's going to enter your son's life in a different way now. And 2, because he was also looking at you for, please, if you need to talk me out of this, if it's
I think Ben said that to him.
I did say that to him.
Yeah.
I said, "Are you
problem
sure?"
now or something
No,
like
I said,
that.
Are you sure?
Right.
I can tell you some stories.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Yes, I'm sure I love her." I said, "Okay, well, thank you."
Yeah,
Thank you. She's your problem.
She's your
now.
problem.
Pass it off.
Right, no question.
No, and I know this. Recently, you guys went on vacation together, the two of you with your son. No worry from either one of your spouses about infidelity?
No.
No.
Not even the fact of, like, I remember telling Nadia, obviously, Chad and Nadia, if they could have, were I don't want to say invited, but
they were invited.
Right. But they know that you were doing a trip for your son.
That and, Chad's the sheriff of Hillsborough County. You can't take 2 weeks off to go to Africa. Nadia has 2 young kids. So when I told Nadia, it wasn't, "Oh, hell no, you're not going to Africa with your ex-wife."
Right.
How dare you even? She's like, "Asher would love that."
Yeah.
To go to Africa. So that's the buy-in. And
you found the right people.
Where they understand that there's nothing sexual between Nikki and I. There's nothing, it's just like if
there was no where are you staying, let me see your rooms.
Right. You check in every 5 minutes. It was almost like if I told Nadia I was going to South Africa with you, or Africa with you on a safari.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we hold each other.
We
sometimes.
do. We cuddle.
Right.
But that's that's about it. I don't get it naked like
Spanish.
Sandy.
Oh, so yeah.
Carmen, sorry.
Listen, I'm very comfortable with myself.
I'm glad.
He's just kidding. Does your son look at the two of you as if you were ever married? Like, does he see that?
Yes.
He does.
He does.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think it was the second day we were on the trip. He looked at me and he said, "Thank you so much for bringing me here, Mom. Like, thank you. Like, basically, thank you both Like, this is the best trip I've ever been on.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Well, I think the important thing to remember on divorce is, Asher, we were fishing 3 years ago in Venice, Louisiana, and we're on the boat, and he looks at me and goes, this divorce is hard on me, right? And
out of the blue.
And Ben wanted in his head to go, you little jerk. Like, how is this hard?
My first reaction was, you have no idea.
Yeah,
you have no idea what your mom and I, how hard we worked. But then it hit me, like, as good as it is, and I don't think it can get much better than Nikki and my divorce.
Right.
He has access to go down the street. It hit me that you take away all the other nonsense of parents not getting along. And of course, a child wants their parents to be together, and just the idea of a divorce is hard on the kids. Like, imagine if you had to live somewhere else every couple of days.
No.
If you felt displaced. I remember, going to my dad's house. My parents had all the other nonsense, but like forgetting a book at my mom's house. And it's the whole logistics of it is difficult.
No, because when
enough.
it started, you worked down the street.
Yeah.
So every time you'd forget something, I'd have to be like,
right. You have to go. Yeah, it wasn't as close. So yeah, I mean, that's interesting that he said that, because you would think that he, with the way you guys are and the luxuries that he does have, he doesn't even, because the truth is he got bonus parents.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And it just shows you that it's divorce is not great on the kids, no matter how great it is between us. But
and think of the effect that it has when the divorce is terrible.
And that's my point.
I mean, that's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
My parents got divorced, but I was very, very young, so I don't really remember. I don't wish they were ever back together or any of that. But I still have to deal with their nonsense because they get along, but they don't really get along, and it's still you have to deal with it. So if they would live on the same street as each other, and I get to run back and forth to their houses, that'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, the thing about that too is when the parent, if you had asked us 12 years ago when we sat at that coffee shop and we decided to sort of plan this thing out, and it wasn't like today.
we didn't plan it to what it is today.
Right. I think social media wasn't around when we got divorced, so there weren't all these divorce co-parenting groups or support groups online. So, I think goal, if you'd asked us 12 years ago, what we had wanted was what you just said, where your parents get along, but they don't get along. And everybody in that room.
To be in the same room together.
Right.
And not have that palatable, tension.
It's always there.
It's always there.
Always there.
That was probably our goal. Now, obviously, we've overshot that goal by a couple miles, but.
We hang out with Chad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's one thing. You always want to hate the other guy that came in, you feel like you took your place. You want to have that feeling.
Yeah.
The book is called Our Happy Divorce, and I think it's important to have you guys on, not just because you're friends, but I think there's a lot of people in unhappy marriages, and they wonder if they're trapped or if they can get out, and the main reason they'll stay together is because of a kid, especially people who had kids by accident, had them young, and think that they have to stay there until the kid's 18 before they can get out. You can have freedom and you can have a good life, and you could do the right things for your kids if you do it that way. I think this would be a good read for anybody that's considering a divorce or has gotten divorced recently and it doesn't like the way the way it turned out.
And that was the reason behind the book. We don't need to be famous or sell money or sell a lot of books for money. We're not going to make money on this book, right? But the idea is to give people hope, and also in the book we talked about, and we talked a little bit about on the show about Nikki and my personality, right? We are two very similar personalities, hardheads, and if we can do it, anybody can, and not money, forget all that other stuff, just our personalities. That if we're able to do it, everybody else can. So hopefully this book, if you read it, it'll give you a little hope. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have our life. There's different levels of co-parenting. There's different extremes. Ours might be one. But the main thing is to just put the kids first. Don't let them suffer. You had, I don't know if you had the same feeling, but when I held my son for the first time, and it was that true feeling of selflessness that I made a vow to him that I would always protect him and put him first.
Yes.
And it was the first time in my life, from a very narcissistic ego perspective, that I understood about putting somebody else first. I think a lot of times, and I was going down that path in the beginning where that shifted. I was so blinded by anger that I was literally going to cause harm to him.
Right. You allowed that to get the best of you, and it's hurting your relationship.
Right. And so, the kids coming from a parent, and you too, Mike, it is a terrible place to be when your parents don't get along.
Yeah. Well, you're in the middle of it, whether you want to be or not. Just like your son said, it's not easy on you.
Blocking and tackling tools.
Yeah.
There were weapons. Or kids are weaponized sometimes, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Well,
so
I think this is a great idea. And it's like you said, you didn't do it for the money. You didn't write a book so that you can make a ton of money off it. You're doing it because you share, you have a really interesting experience, and you can help other people.
Yeah, and even if you don't, like I said, we just told the story. So save yourself a couple of bucks. Just put the kids first, and it's amazing how everything falls into line.
I just wanted to be successful because I don't really know what Ben does, and if the book sells well,
then you can say it was an author.
Right? Yeah. Make me seem fancy.
Author.
Thank you very much for both of you for coming in here and sharing the story and writing the book. This is great. I see that you're doing a lot of press for it.
Yeah.
What is next? Are you going to go on the tour, on the press tour?
He's making
the Kelly Clarkson show?
He's making
You
me.
don't like to do this stuff.
No.
Do you? I have so many things I want to ask you, but I'm being ridiculous. No, they're all dirty questions. Did you? It might have been Lisa. When I worked at FLZ, one of you used to call us every once in a while on the radio. I think it was Lisa.
Maybe.
Is that the station MJ was on?
Well, he was on the morning show. We were on at night. We used to go out and do clubs every night, and we were there. And one of you, I can't remember who, I just remember because we talk off the air and said that you were DeBartolo, and then at first we were like, there's no way this is true. And then we found out that you said the family lived here, and we never actually met up. But somebody used to call in. I want to say it was Lisa, though.
Remember MJ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
It wasn't on his show, though.
There was something that went on between Lisa and him.
Lisa dated MJ?
No.
He was married. Yeah.
No. Not physically.
What was
like
it?
he had said something on the air, and I think Lisa called in.
Oh no! But this was off. This was night. Like we were going out to a nightclub, and they were in whichever one of you was here with friends, and was going to come find out what club it was. Like I remember this, and then we.
If it was a nightclub, that was probably me.
I know this woman so well.
So
as
funny.
soon as you said nightclub, I was like,
We're like, yeah, that's not Lisa.
Yeah, it was
that is
Nikki
so
for
funny.
sure.
Oh, I wish to God it was Lisa so I could throw it in Biggs' face.
Oh,
Yeah.
we could just say it was Lisa.
Well, listen, thank you both for coming in. The book is called Our Happy Divorce. I'm looking at it right on Amazon right now. If you want to go get it, you can have it at your house in 2 days. And if you're somebody who's the product of divorce, or if you're in an unhappy marriage and thinking you might be getting there, or recently